Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Turbo Mock. Free agency is officially among us. We've let it settle for about a week now. At the time of this recording, Brandon Cooks just got traded to the Cowboys, so pretty much everything in this mock draft is up until that point. If you guys are brand new to the channel, what we do is a Turbo Mock, so I take about 20 seconds to explain each pick. That way I'm not taking up too much of you guys' time, and we can move along on these mock drafts pretty quick. If you guys are interested in that kind of content, I suggest you hit the subscribe button down below, and let's get right into the video. Okay, so first on the clock, we get the Carolina Panthers. I'm still really excited about that trade up. I thought it was a good move for both teams. The Panthers felt like they were in a perpetual rebuild. They're finally going to be aggressive and go after their quarterback of the future. By the sounds of it, it seems like CJ Stroud is the guy. We'll take CJ Stroud to the Panthers. He's the current betting favorite to go the first overall, so we're going to go ahead and just do that. We're on the clock with the Houston Texans at the second overall pick. I think Bryce Young is the best quarterback in the class. We're going to take him here to the Houston Texans. They're just going to get their quarterback of the future. They didn't have to trade up for their quarterback one. Next up, we have the Arizona Cardinals. This team's kind of in a rebuild here. The whole roster is pretty poor. They just got a new head coach. Kyler might be missing half the season. Who knows what that situation looks like? We're just going to get the best player on the board. That's going to be Will Anderson Jr. It's also a position of need for that defense, so I think this is a good value pick here. Next up, we're on the clock with the Colts. This whole entire organization has been so vocal about how they need their quarterback of the future. They were even willing to trade up to the first overall. Now, it looks like it's probably too late to do that since the Panthers already did it. We're going to take the best quarterback on the board, and that's Anthony Richardson. They just signed Gardner Minshew. Now, that doesn't mean that Anthony Richardson can't start day one, but I feel like that's kind of an insurance policy, someone that can get by some games. With the fifth overall pick, the Seattle Seahawks are going to take Tyree Wilson. Pete Carroll's a guy that continuously likes to take these guys with crazy size, great athleticism, and really high upside. I think Tyree Wilson is just that. They're going to get better on the edge, and that's a position of need. They need to get after the quarterback. We're on the clock here with the Lions. I like to take cornerback to this team, but they just gave Cameron Sutton a lot of money. 3 years, 33 mil. They're paying him like a starting corner. They also paid Emmanuel Mosley, who I think is a really good corner. We're going to take a little break on taking corner for them, and we're going to take the edge defender, Lucas Van Ness. Now, this is a player that has rumblings of being a top 10 pick. Again, I feel like the fit is just too good. Put him on the opposite side of Aiden Hutchinson. He's a super freaky athlete, immense upside. He's going to be able to help the run game as well as get after the passer. Him and Aiden Hutchinson are just going to complement each other, and to get like a really good edge defender, you really can't put a price tag on that. We're on the clock with the Raiders. They're probably never going to be in the top 10 when Jimmy G's at quarterback. I know they just paid him for 3 years, but I think you can get Will Levis here. You let him sit for a while behind Jimmy G. That's sort of the career arc I could see happening with Will Levis, regardless of landing situation. I think the Raiders take the gamble on him here and let him develop behind like a safe, smart quarterback in Jimmy G. I feel like I don't know where to take Jalen Carter. I think probably the 8th overall is the farthest he'll drop. He didn't look good in his pro day. He has a bunch of those character concerns, but his talent is just too high. I'm not going to smash the kid too hard. I think the 8th overall to the Falcons is a realistic situation. I don't know how far he'll drop. I've heard outside of the top 15. I don't know. These situations always get really shady. Sometimes players like him will just be completely off teams' boards, but I'm going to take him here to the Falcons. He's going to drastically improve that defensive line, and he's a player that can slide anywhere on that defensive line. He's going to be able to learn from Grady Jarrett, no problem. He's just too explosive, too good to fall out of the top 10, in my opinion. We're going to take the first tackle off the board here for the Chicago Bears. I really thought they were going to be heavily involved with the Orlando Brown deal, but they got some offensive linemen, but they didn't get one of the premier tackles. We're going to get him Peter Skoronski. He's probably the best tackle in the class. I still like Broderick Jones' upside more, but they're going to take Peter Skoronski, a franchise left tackle, potentially guard for a young and upcoming team. I have taken cornerback to the Eagles every single mock draft. They just found out a way to get James Bradbury and Darius Slay back for another year. We're going to do the typical Eagles thing, and we're going to trade them back. I don't like any of the options here for that team, and this is kind of how this team operates in general anyway. We're going to trade the Pittsburgh Steelers up to the 10th overall. We're going to spend the 17th pick and the 32nd pick to get up and trade for a tackle. The Steelers, after trading up, they're going to go ahead and take Broderick Jones. I think he's the best tackle in the class. This is a team that needs tackle. They definitely need cornerback as well, but they did just sign Patrick Peterson. I think they're getting some base level at corner, but they really need an improvement at that tackle spot. We're going to go 3 tackles in a row and take Paris Johnson Jr. here to the Titans. I don't have to explain this pick too much. They're rolling with Ryan Tannehill long term, it seems like. They just got rid of a bunch of offensive linemen. We're going to get Paris Johnson Jr. here. He's going to step right in and probably start day one. Wide receiver is such a glaring hole for the Houston Texans now. They do have Nico Collins. They also have John Mechie, but that doesn't move the needle. John Mechie is essentially a rookie. We're going to take Quentin Johnson here. He brings a dynamic of speed and explosion that team doesn't have right now. That wide receiver room right now needs as much help as it can get, and I think Quentin Johnson's a good pick here at 12. At pick 13 here with the Jets, we don't like any of the value here for the tackles. I always take tackle to the Jets. The big three are off the board. I do like Anton Harrison, you guys know that, but he's going to fall a little bit more in this draft. We're going to take the best cornerback in this entire draft. That's going to be Christian Gonzalez from Oregon. We're going to pair him alongside Sauce Gardner, and in a few years, that'll probably be the best secondary in the NFL. You get guys like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle in the division. You need someone with speed like Christian Gonzalez has to be able to keep up with these guys. I think you get Gonzo on a rookie deal, and that's just a good move. The Patriots did a few different things during the opening of free agency. You got a couple tackles, nothing spectacular. Riley Reif is probably going to win the starting tackle job. Now he's older, of course. Trent Brown isn't that good anymore, but I think tackle is like our second biggest priority. We signed Juju. I think that's a really good Jacoby Myers replacement. We also got Mike Gesicki. He's pretty much like a Z receiver. In my opinion, the biggest need that we have right now is cornerback. We just let Jalen Mills walk. We're going to take Devin Witherspoon here. There's not a better man corner in the draft than Devin Witherspoon. Now, he is a little bit smaller, but I really like his game. He's very physical. He brings that tough, physical press man presence to our secondary that we've been lacking over the past couple of years. We're taking the elite slot receiver here to the Green Bay Packers. Jackson Smith-Njigba. He's going to make Jordan Love's life much easier. That team's looking for a reliable down-to-down receiver. JSN is just that. He's going to fit right into that offense and be really, really good and reliable. We're on the clock here with the Commanders. This team could use a bunch of different options, but they're going to take the best player on the board. That's going to be Joey Porter Jr. They have a need at cornerback. He has the upside to be one of the best corners in the entire league. I think you're getting a steal here at 16, and he's going to fit the defense so well. After trading back with the Steelers, the Eagles got pick 32, as well as the 17th overall pick here. They're going to take Brian Branch. That's a slot corner, free safety, box safety, whatever you want to call him, he can do it. They're losing CJ Gardner-Johnson. They also let Marcus Epps walk. They have a need at safety. Brian Branch, in my opinion, is a very elite safety option. He's a day one starter for my money, and I think he's a really good player here at 17. We got Lucas Van Ness for the 6th overall. The Lions don't need to go defensive tackle here. I do like taking Brian Brzee, Kalijah Cansey, but I think we're going to go to the other side of the ball. We're going to keep investing in Jared Goff and take Dalton Kincaid here. Kincaid is a top 3 pass catcher in this draft, in my opinion. I think he's so damn good. He's super slept on. As we run up to the draft, he's just going to keep getting hype and hype and hype. He's probably going to end up in the top 25 picks. This offense is going to be so explosive. They do need options outside of Jamison Williams, who hasn't proved anything yet, although I love him, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I think you just add one more piece and it'll just bring that offense over the top. With the Bucks cutting Donovan Smith, they're going to take a left tackle here in Anton Harrison. Now, Anton's a very good tackle prospect. This is right around the range where he'll go. I think he's just a plug and play starter. Baker Mayfield's probably going to be the starter there. Let's get him a left tackle. I fumbled over this pick for the Seattle Seahawks a little bit here. Although I'd like to invest on that defensive line a little bit more, we're going to go with Deonte Banks. He's a super athletic, really good cornerback prospect. He's scheme versatile. He plays a decent amount of zone like the Seattle Seahawks like to play. You're going to stick him on the opposite side of Tariq Woolen. They'll start to be able to have a good, healthy rotation in that secondary. I just think the upside with a guy like Deonte Banks is so high. I really like him here. I think he's definitely a day one prospect. Here's everyone's favorite pick. We're going to take Bijan Robinson to the Chargers. He's an elite running back prospect. Austin Eckler, who knows what the hell that situation is. I don't know if they actually end up trading him. He might hold out. Who knows? Bijan to the Chargers is so fun. We're going to go with it. We're on the clock with the Ravens. We've been alternating with like edge rusher and wide receivers for this team. We're going to take an edge rusher here in Nolan Smith. They're really good at developing their edge rushers. Nolan Smith is way too good and way too athletic to fall any farther than this. The Ravens desperately need people on the edge, so we're going to go with Nolan Smith. We're on the clock with the Vikings. They actually came to a big deal with Byron Murphy. I think he's a really good player. He's more of a slot corner, but it helps out that secondary a bunch. We're going to take linebacker here and take Trenton Simpson. He's a really athletic linebacker. He's going to bring a decent floor to that linebacking core. It's just a position that they need. And I think Trenton Simpson played himself right into the first round. I still wouldn't rule out cornerback here, but I also don't like the value of any of the guys. The Jaguars are going to go with one of my favorite players in the entire draft. That's going to be Darnell Wright from Tennessee. He's a right tackle. He's going to start day one. We're going to invest in Trevor Lawrence and just protect him as much as we can. They just lost Juwan Taylor to the Kansas City Chiefs. I think we're just replacing that position with a really good tackle prospect. With the addition of Darren Waller, Harris Campbell, as well as the extension of Darius Slayton, we're going to take a break from taking wide receiver here at the 25th overall. The Giants are going to get an elite center prospect in John Michael Schmitz. We're going to start protecting Daniel Jones. He has just had such a sieve at offensive line. They're starting to get him better weapons. Let's get him a better offensive line. After the Brandon Cooks trade, the Cowboys no longer need wide receivers so desperately. They do need some defensive line help. They're going to take Kalijah Cansey here. This is a defensive tackle that has such good film. Really high upside as a pass rusher. He's going to be able to help the run defense immensely as well. I like the player. He's a really productive 3-year guy. It's a position of need, and it's an elite upside player. The Bills pretty much did nothing all free agency, especially in that wide receiver room. I think they actually lost Isaiah McKenzie. We're going to improve their wide receiver 2 spot and take Zay Flowers here. Stephon Diggs feels a little bit disgruntled. I'm not looking too deep into that, but this team just needs more depth, better playmakers at the wide receiver spot, so we're going to take Zay Flowers. The Bengals are no longer at a desperate need for offensive tackle. After signing Orlando Brown to a big deal, they need some help on that defensive line. We're going to get him Brian Brzee. I think he does go a little earlier than this pick here, but he's a really good defensive tackle prospect. He has some serious upside because he's a really athletic freak. Here we are at pick 29 with the Saints. Myles Murphy is falling too far. We're going to take him here. We're going to get a really good edge rusher at a very big discount. I'm kind of lukewarm on him lately, but this team does need some youth on that defensive side of the ball. Both TJ Edwards and Kaiser White walked in free agency. The Eagles are kind of down bad at linebacker. They do have Nakobe Dean, but he didn't even get like any snaps this year. We're going to take a really safe, very high upside linebacker prospect in Jack Campbell. I love him as just a run stopper, but he is really good off the ball. He can play in zones. He can play a little bit of man. You never like taking linebackers in the first round, but the 30th overall pick is like barely a first round pick. Jack Campbell, Philadelphia Eagles, day one starter. I was going to let Jordan Addison fall out of the first round, but I can't do it. It's too good of a value here for the Kansas City Chiefs. I know they're really high on Sky Moore for some reason. Tony, they're obsessed with Tony, but they still need an option in the wide receiver room. Someone like Jordan Addison, the 31st overall pick, that's a really good value for a good player. Although he didn't have a good combine, he's still a really good player. He put some good tape on the field. I like him here to the Kansas City Chiefs, and I think the Chiefs fans will as well. A quick recap as to what we did. CJ Stroud went first overall to the Panthers. Bryce Young falls second overall to the Texans. We reach on Lucas Van Ness. The Jets don't get one of the top tackles, so they take Christian Gonzalez. The Pats follow that up with Devin Witherspoon right after. The Eagles replace CJ Gardner-Johnson with Brian Branch. Looking at it now, I don't know if I love this Dalton Kincaid pick. That team realistically doesn't need too much. They're just adding another elite pass catching option on the offense. We go Bijan Robinson to the Chargers. That's going to be a lot of fun in fantasy lineups. Zay Flowers goes to the Bills. That's going to be a lot of fun as well. And then Jordan Addison goes to the Kansas City Chiefs. Really fun option there for Patrick Mahomes. All right, fellas. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the mock draft. These things changed literally by the hour during free agency. D-Hop could go to like the Chiefs or the Patriots, and then it just screws everything up. I just like to have fun with these mock drafts. We like to keep it fresh. We don't like to take the same players over and over again. So hopefully I got you guys every player that you wanted. And if not, I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.